comp with a clear power spike, because otherwise they're going to struggle.
Well, we'll see where the draft takes us this time. Immunity on the blue side here with this game. Rich Gang over on the red. We've got Jarvan banned out by IM already. Nah, the first ban there for Rich Gang. And Orexa is going to join the pool as well.
Interesting to see if there's any targeted bans coming out right here. I mean, Rich Gang love that Malphite. I don't know if it's worth a ban, but it's definitely been a consistent pick for Rich Homie in the top lane right there. I mean, there was so many strong champions opened in the last draft phase. The Janna first pick obviously didn't pay off, but that was kind of the problem where they picked themselves into the corner with the Ezreal Janna lane right there. So what they're prioritizing in this draft, I'm not 100% sure on, but just don't give Ahri away, is all I say.
Yeah, well, we'll see here as Cassidy will go in over to Rich Gang as well. And you're right, Chenny Boy's Ahri looked fantastic, and I'm sure she's a fine Ahri player as well. So wouldn't be too surprised to see that ban, especially on the red side here, as Immunity can consider their next ban now.
Yeah, I mean, Cassidon's taken away. A blue side Ahri ban would be a bit weak, and I'm sure Cheese can play that champion, so it's probably going to have to be a red side ban. Otherwise, try and set up maybe a huge two-pick phase. Rich Gang are this team that can really seems to plan their draft picks in advance and go very confidently. So if they're confident enough to give up that Ahri, you know they have two power picks ready to be picked away.
Well, they do ban the Ahri, so no worries there this time. Won't be going over to the hands of Immunity, and a very smart last ban here on this particular patch. So Immunity going to consider their next pick here. Lissandra is open. That's about it as far as strong champions that we normally talk about.
I mean, the Rumble has been a JK Smithy champion forever, so you might want to consider that there. The Nar pick itself wasn't a problem, but it was that awkward situation where you're like, okay, I'm against double AP, can get a Hex Drinker early, get some magic resist so I can be a front liner. But the Sivir was so overtuned it didn't even matter. He was melting as if Sivir was an assassin champion on the enemy team because of that early Snowball Brutalizer on top of all the AD right there. So it's just not much JK Smithy could do right there. I mean, okay, you could say didn't get the decisive Nars, but he was eating so much damage he had to sacrifice positioning just to stay alive in fights.
Yeah, and they're going to take their time here with their first pick. It's funny that you mentioned Malphite. That's actually an option here as well. It's not the worst blocker pick, but that wouldn't be bad either if they want to go for it. And Immunity definitely taking their time, making sure they keep focus here in this draft and, you know, go in and actually have maybe a clearer head and a better plan here. And it is going to be Sivir as their first pick.
And I like that just because we've just seen Uberbro, one of the most experienced team players in the league, sitting in that terrible matchup, the Ezreal against Sivir, especially the Ezreal Janna against Sivir matchup, and having to play reactively, get his lanes constantly pushed on him. Pick a lane bully, pick a champion who can really push the advantage in lane and you know, just basically be on the front foot after having to play reactively the whole laning phase last time around.
Yeah, well, Sivir's just so strong. I mean, there are plenty of champions and lanes you can take into her, and there are lots of ways around Sivir, but she enables very strong compositions, and she herself is often very safe in all but a few lanes.
And it kind of pushes Dayshifted off that comfort Ezreal pick. Of course, Dayshifted played all 4 of those qualifier games on Ezreal, has a wonderful KDA on that champion, loves to pick up the blue Ezreal, but he's already now kind of in a situation where, okay, they could execute a lane swap, but probably not worth it after that blocker Sivir pick.
Yeah, probably don't want that to be. I mean, again, you can't pick weak landers into Sivir unless you're doing some sort of lane swap. But the picks are Lissandra, Morgana. Pretty interesting start there for Rich Gang. Morgana presumably for the support role, but Rich Gang going to get the very strong Lissandra.
I mean, the Lissandra coming through the second side, it's obviously kind of a toss-up between Lissandra and Sivir. Sivir does have those laning matchups, whereas Lissandra's almost always happy and, of course, so effective in a team fight when she finishes that Zhonya's. So, I mean, I personally would prioritize the Lissandra higher, but again, if it's going to help Uberbro get onto a confident champion, if they can work on their rotations, so Zahi really struggled in that game as well after being called out time after time in the jungle. Having access to that on the hunt gives you the opportunity to play on the front foot to get those picks with the extra movement speed. And they're setting up themselves their comp well here now with the Lee Sin pick.
And I'd love to see exactly this here from Immunity, going for much more aggression and much more pick potential now. Thresh and Lee Sin, their next 2 picks. And I love that Zai's getting more aggressive, but I'm so glad Tigon's off Janna.
Yeah, I mean, it's just for a person who's so in tune with the Leonas, the Blitzcranks, the engaged supports of the world, to be on Janna duty, for them to value that as a first pick on a player that looked a little bit uncomfortable on the Janna. Okay, it was almost a moot point just given how the game went, but to prioritize Janna when Lissandra's available is just so unfortunate because, of course, Lissandra, one of the few champions that Janna really can't peel away.
Yeah, and We talk about before Lissandra get engaged massively hard and nothing Johnny can do. Tegan, to be fair, has had really strong Johnny games in the past, but it doesn't feel like it fits him as a player, and I'm glad that he has Thresh here. But Vi and Kalista, speaking of the hard engage there for the jungle, and an interesting champion here for Day Shift, are going to go for Kalista.
Yeah, it's a different flavor of carry right here. Might be the attack speed based build because we don't see a huge front line coming up. Of course, still 2 champions we picked up right here, showing the Renekton, so there could potentially be a bit of tanky front line, but it's probably not going to be the Scion or the huge tanky wall that Kalista struggles to get through.
Yeah, and here we go. Uber Bro is appealing to me. Thank you, good sir. He does hover the Heimerdinger, but I don't think we'll be seeing the Dinger this time around, unfortunately. And here's see what Immunity want to do. They already have a fairly aggressive lineup here, so Renekton would be a pretty aggressive but an interesting choice. That is an old school JK Smithy champion, but 10 more seconds left here to see what they want to go for. Cheese, big Xerath player as well. Wouldn't be too surprised to see that also.
Xerath's just been so popular across the scene, so powerful. And the Oceanic players are no slouches when it comes to those ultimates. I saw plenty of them hitting especially sharp, wonderfully well, and it's the Renekton in the top lane right here. Champion's fallen away a bit, but I saw quite a few changes on this patch, if I remember correctly. With just some changes to how his Fury ability works right here. So I've heard some murmurs of that his Fury abilities and his trading is actually a lot stronger than before, but I haven't really seen it in practice, so I'm super excited to see how that Renekton versus, I guess, Lissandra matchup might pan out.
Well, maybe in theory, before we do get into the practice part, just theoretically, it feels like Lissandra could have a very fun time there against a very melee Renekton.
I mean, absolutely, Lissandra, her kit's all about countering short to medium range champions. I mean, Renekton, of course, qualifies like that, being fiercely melee. I mean, Lissandra just has so much wave clear, but Renekton also has respectable wave clear. It's just a likely factor where when Renekton's clearing waves, he's going to eat harass from Lissandra. Lissandra will often be able to use her mana efficiently to get lane minions pushing and also get harassing, and that's where she gets the small advantage, but of course it's a resourceless versus resource-based top lane, so it could be even more even than you think.
Yeah, we'll have to see here, of course, as that plays out, but Orianna is the last pick here for Rich Gang, so going to go for a Chenny Boy staple there on that one.
Very interesting to see. I mean, that's all about the Vi Orianna initiation. You might want to use Lissandra as a ball carrier, but there's some weird interactions. If you become untargetable too quickly, you might have the ball fizzle out and return to Orianna. So probably going to be the point-and-click initiation from the Vi. You know how that's going to go. But with the Sivir and with the pick comp right here, I am with a shot. It's not a case where you look at their draft and say, all right, they've lost straight up, like you might say about the previous series. They definitely dug themselves a hole last series, but definitely both comps have a clear win conditions right here. So, I mean, on their day, anyone here can win.
And I think maybe to characterize the difference in drafts here for Immunity, just much more aggression here in this particular draft. Yes, it's a bit more cohesive, that's great, but the overall thing that I'm seeing here thematically is that, you know, they've got the Sivir, they've got the Thresh, they've got the Lee Sin, lots of good, strong, engaged champions, and the Renekton, who once he gets in there is really good at fighting as well. Sure, Xerath sort of ties the room together and, you know, does AoE damage and tries to teamfight control, but in general, Immunity this game, I just want to go in hard and often.
And I really want to see Zahi be the one to bring that to the fore right here. Really struggle on that Vi, was getting caught in rotations a lot. With Lee Sin, you have the option of being so aggressive from level 3 onwards, but also you can farm and have an impact. I'd like to see the early sidestone be picked up, start to get the vision advantage going right there, because they have the tools to get picks and rotations. They just need to play to the strengths of their comp. I mean, you struggled to that in the first game today. They'll want to shore that up and show that on the Rift today.
Yeah, and overall here for Rich Gang as well, some similarities in comps that we've seen. We talk about Chenny Boy's Orianna as being a very comfort champion for him. Destiny going to revisit Morgana here as well for this particular game. But a couple of other mix-ups here. How do you think in terms of team comp that Rich Gang have drafted?
I mean, they have very good engage. I mean, you have to say the Orianna-Vi combination is very, very strong. But their skirmishing definitely lacks out right there. They do have a bit of a weak skirmish right there. So between the Orianna and the Orianna and the Vi right there in the early game, and then it scales up to be so good in the late game. So they might struggle in skirmishes around the mid lane in early levels, but over levels, especially when Orianna gets big, they have so much potential for teamfight engage right there that it's going to have to be the rotational play from Immunity early to get themselves a snowball dragon lead or some neutral objectives picked up, because they might struggle as the game goes on.
We talked about Uberbro as well here as far as matchups go. Maybe has a bit more of a confidence pick here, something much more aggressive here on the Sivir as well. Do you feel like, in terms of matchups here with Kalista, who again is still quite a new champion to the league, we talk about how oppressive Sivir can be in lanes. How's Kalista hold up?
It's a really interesting lane just because, of course, until you pick up the Hurricane, and I'll speculate that we're probably going to see the Hurricane come out. Very hard to counter pushes Kalista against Sivir right here, especially when the BF sword power spike that you talked about and the instant wave clear comes up. Kalista will struggle in the early lanes to match that, but once that power spike comes up, her trading with Sivir is actually quite favorable. It's very hard for Sivir to hit the Qs on Kalista. She has so much innate mobility that it can be hard to lock her down, even with the fleet of foot passive right there. So it's interesting to see the early trading. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lane swap come out here just to see Kalista enter lane with a bit more attack speed, have a bit more wave control, more levels in Rend. But especially early, I see Sivir really winning that lane.
Yeah, and I think be cool to see a lane swap as well. I also like the Morgana being paired in there as well. Again, not really a big laney thing here. Morgana especially doesn't do too much against Sivir because of how Spell Shield works, but you can at least protect your Kalista, and with all the engage that the rest of the Rich Gang squad have, it's actually nice that a fairly self-reliant AD carry like Kalista, who does have some similarities with Ezreal, I guess, in terms of mobility, is going to be even more protected with the Black Shield.
And it's something we've seen coming up in the LPL and some other scenes is Morgana against a single AP comps. Because we've seen so much double AP, it's actually been kind of a boon to run Morgana because your shield's just going to get popped due to incidental damage across the rift right there. But against the single AP comps, if you can avoid that Xerath damage, the Black Shield's more likely to stay up for the 8-second duration. It still has that massive duration right there. And because she has so much innate mobility, having access to the Black Shield, staying up so long, 8 seconds of being able to freely reset your movement, move around the map, and fight with the CC and vulnerability could be a massive situation for Kalista as we reach the late game.
Yeah, and there's some other cool stuff going here as well. Late game is interesting. Kalista feels to me like she scales quite well, and if that's the plan here for Rich Gang, they do have decent aggressive options as well, especially at level 6 with Lissandra Vi and, of course, the Orianna for some Wombo. But Immunity are going to play, I assume, a much more different game here. They had maybe a few too many passive lanes, couldn't use the LeBlanc that effectively, but Cheese here got a very long-range champion, can always be relevant in any sort of skirmish or fight. And again, J.K. Smith here playing Renekton, super aggressive champion for him as well. I expect to see Immunity do a lot more work, and you mentioned Zahi. I'm expecting quite a lot of pressure, and possibly even some counter jungling.
They need to get ahead early just because I imagine this late game scenario, 5 points in that Black Shield, Kalista jumping around. You look down the Immunity team, there's not a lot of gap close, there's not a lot of deletion damage potentially coming out onto this Kalista. It's going to be so hard to lock down natively. And they don't have a lot of gap close and like instant damage. There's no Zed flavor on their team. It's going to be very hard for them to kill that Kalista. And once she picks up some lifesteal, the Hurricane potentially, gets an implied 40% or so lifesteal. If she stays alive in these fights, Immunity are going to lose.
Yeah, we'll be on to the Rift here for our last match of the evening here and the last match of the first round of the OPL here. Immunity down again from their last series up against the Dials. Going to see what they can do with T-Gun. Flash hooks immediately. Chenny Boy's going to get crushed down. Very smart to not blow the flash, but first blood, Zahi.
That is a very big advantage so early into this game right here. They're going to get to build down the wards they want. It's a big positional change, but as you say, credit to Chenny Boy. Didn't blow his summoners right there because he was dead anyway.
Yeah, knew he was really dead. The 4-man recall cancelled, though, by Destiny. Nice word there in the blue buff's going to deny quite a bit of time there, and Immunity will continue to walk back through their own jungle. Maybe look for another pick here, but most likely just going to be happy with the first kill.
All right, so we might see some changes in lane rotations here just because teams aren't going to be able to get as many aggressive wards down because there was so much action so early right here. We see a huge buy coming through from Zahi right here with the very early pink ward to get a bit more vision control early. That should counter any potential aggression. Okay, Vi's are prone to jungling until level 6, but they do have that surprising damage if the Vault Breaker hits around level 3. So again, just less options for Rich Gang and more options opened up to Immunity with that early extra gold.
Yeah, curious to see what Zahi does. We sort of flagged him as someone that needs to have maybe a better series than he did on his Vine. He's on a very comfortable pick here with Lee Sin, so we'll see what he can get done. Huey, though, is going to stay here over on the Grump into blue. And Zahi's going to go Krugs into his red buff.
I mean, the sad, unfortunate thing is because we've jumped to 5.2, the jungle items are now 450 gold, so wasn't able to go back and pick up perhaps the Skirmisher's Saber or the Chilling Smite or any sort of things to help with his ganking or jungling right here. Had to go with the consumables, but Ward's one of Lee Sin's best friends.
Yeah, he'll certainly take it here, and Zahi going to move through his jungle here as well. So we see Cheese versus Chenny Boy here. I feel like traditionally, Cheese is a big Ziggs player, and Xerath sort of has a lot of that Ziggs flavor, and at least in that matchup, that was favorable against Orianna.
Orianna finds it very hard to space control Xerath just because he has such long range on his spells. Even his E and W have relatively good range, so it's very hard for Oriana to force Xerath into bad situations. But in the early levels, you're going to get some trade damage, and you just kind of worry for the Oriana. And when we start seeing the instant wave clear, you know, maybe when the Morellonomicon and the Needless Large Rod comes through, because Oriana, she has to move closer to the minion wave to clear it. And so it's got that instant wave clear.
Yeah, and you're going to likely get poked down there as well. So we'll see how this matchup develops. But looking strong so far. Day shifted down the bottom. Meanwhile, going to be jumping around on this Kalista, just rending up creeps. And this is always one of the more interesting things to me in the early levels of this lane matchup. Rend is so good at pushing early on.
Absolutely. You can afford to really commit to those auto attacks, knowing that you can rend them even if the minion break is unfavorable for you right here. So it's impressive how much you're able to move and push the wave in early, even against Sivir. Sivir kind of needs a few levels which gets the true push.
Yeah, Zahi does connect the Q for a bit of damage onto Chennyboy. Double buff so done for Lee Sin, looking maybe to get aggressive. Might even revisit this lane, does find a ward, uses the pink immediately, and that's strong vision control early.
But it is a known pink ward slot right here, so they can ward around it here and know where the pink ward is. So because that's known information, it's not quite as powerful.
He's going to run into each other, though. Huey will find himself against Zahi. The slow comes through. He's going to turn it around, though. Vi does so much damage in a duel, and Zahi actually has to run after invading.
Oh, you look, if you could see the lane positioning in the minimap, you could see that Oriana was going to be by far the first to react right there. So Lee Sin had to back away, not on quite the same wavelength as Xerath, and that's kind of where Xerath and, oh my goodness, we do see the Q here.
Yeah, going back in again, Zahi just pressuring so hard. She's going to get a free stun, though, for all that mobility. He'll take the trade damage, but Zahi maybe a little too aggressive now.
And it's that early synergy that doesn't exist between Xerath and Lee Sin, because Xerath's first instinct is going to be to back away back to his turret because he has so much range. His only worry is being gap closed by the enemy, compared to Lee Sin, who's always going to be looking to aggressively skirmish. It's not the LeBlanc-Lee Sin synergy that you do see in a lot of team comps.
We'll have to see as Zahi, the Lee Sin, has made his way back down to the bottom lane now. Really wants to keep this gangster. We're going to force the flash out of Day Shifted. Does go for the Q. Will miss, and Tegan will land the hook wide as well. Good trade damage there with the Rend, and Zahi really going in for these ganks.
Yes, but of course he's falling behind in CS quite significantly. He does have the extra gold, so he's not necessarily hurting in terms of gold, but almost even against Huey despite that huge 400 gold first blood from all this lane pressure.
Yeah, impressive. And I mean, Zahi doing what he wants with his time, I guess, wants to be more aggressive, but perhaps could have picked some better spots, or if he just kept farming here. It's always the thing as a jungler to know when you want to be ganking and when you want to be farming, and the balance here is very much in the ganking part for Zahi's early jungle.
Absolutely. Huey went for very much a full clear, got a very fast Rangers Trailblazer just to help with his wave clear, so he's probably going to actually win the race to 6, which, given that start, is definitely depressing if you're Zahi.
Yeah, and Vi, certainly a level 6 jungler with that ulti coming online, so Huey going to be in a pretty happy spot for him. Looks like Zahi has finally found enough fake his jungle out, and we'll go back, and it's actually going to be Trailblazer as well for him.
I do like the Doran shield start by JK Smithy right here. He's going to eat so many auto attacks by Rich Homie. It's actually going to be most of the damage he eats in lane is going to be the consistent auto attacks when he tries to wave clear. Obviously, he has to get in basically melee range to use his Q to wave clear right here. Although the Q from Lissandra doesn't qualify as a single target spell, so you don't get the damage reduction from the Doran Shield passive on that, still puts him in very good stead for this lane.
Yeah, just again a safe option here. Lissandra looking to bully a lot of melee laners, so JK Smithy just wants to make sure he gets through A-OK, and he can maybe start bullying around once he gets a few more items and gets the ultimate online as well. Uberbro, though, pushing down the bottom, has finally managed to counter push out Callisto.
Yeah, just definitely a much more comfortable laning phase for Uberbro this time. Don't see a huge CS discrepancy. Day Shifted was very good about pushing the wave in early to stop what will inevitably become a CS advantage for Sivir. But things are pretty even across the board, although Chennyboy not having a lot of fun eating all this harass in the mid lane.
No, and Cheese is really on point with his Xerath. We talk about him being a big Xerath player, and you can see now in this matchup, Chennyboy is just getting constantly forced back, and this is the problem with Oriana. When he can't effectively wave kid, this just happens to you. Constant harass, basically.
And it's just funny how night and day some Oriana lane matchups are, where she can get in, use that auto attack, wind up to harass, and get a Q in your face. But against Xerath, just so much range in all his abilities that you don't have the same option.
Yeah, it looks like actually going to set up for a gank here is Huey. Does move the Q. Actually had ultimate ready to go as well, but Cheese had both his summoners ready and possibly even a stun to go. So he'll just dodge it out for now, but Huey maybe going to go for the wraparound.
And pastry time, Zahi's still level 4. He'll probably get level 5 from this camp, but is at minimum a whole level behind, and Chennyboy's in trouble.
Yeah, Chennyboy is indeed. Cheese almost getting the kill. Going to use the ulti and does get it with the first hit. So great play there by the mid laner.
And just pings 5 right here, Zahi. But the lack of pressure the lower level junglers providing here, it doesn't matter if Cheese is able to hit those skill shots with quite that accuracy.
Yeah, Yeah, and Cheese, again, a player that certainly treads on his own confidence and loves to be aggressive. Going to be very happy to be a kill up, have an assist, and be 20 CS ahead of his lane opponent.
And up top, off screen, I was watching J.K. Smith getting some wonderful trades in with Rich Homie. That was all from full health, one full rotation of spells. Lissandra, she has wonderful wave clear, great poke, but she doesn't have the base stats to deal with this Renekton so far.
Yeah, and I think Rich Gang were looking for maybe a quick dragon, but Immunity instead steal away the first dragon of the game here. So good force there by Cheese, moving Channy out of the lane, and nothing Rich Gang can do to contest there.
No, it's much more solid laning phase from Immunity right here. Some of the players are on their comfort champions. The Xerath looking much more comfortable in the mid lane. And J.K. Smithy, impressive so far laning with this Renekton.
Yeah, I mean, the Hextria now is going to make this a much easier time in the top lane here. And Renekton, we haven't seen him in a while, but Lissandra here being a very popular pick. I like what J.K. Smith has done here. It's something different, something that he is known for and comfortable with, though, and looking very strong so far in the matchup.
And look, people will point at J.K. Smithy and say, his champion pool is sometimes outdated. He plays a very limited amount of champions. But when you have these players who have so much experience on specific champions like the Renekton, when you see those patch notes come through and your champion's buffed, you lick your lips because you're like, all right, I've already got the mechanics down this champion. I can suss out how to use it to its advantage. And just showing here, 16 CS advantage over such a fancy top laner like Lissandra, that's massive for a Renekton.
Yeah, and it's a bit of the Dado syndrome maybe where, if the champion pool doesn't suit you as a player, it can get a bit awkward. But J.K. Smith is certainly happy that Renekton's back, if he is indeed back, and looking wonderful so far in towards the top. Cheese as well, and his comfort pick, Xerath, looking absolutely out of control already in the mid lane with the 20 CS lead and the solo kill that he got. Cheese is only going to go from strength to strength, but that's a good ult there onto J.K. Smith. Huey going to go for the Vault Breaker. The ult does come down as well, and probably nowhere to go. The snare comes through. The Hexstringer proc, but they're going to move in for the kill, and I think Huey might be able to pick it off. The flash forward there. J.K. Smithy might be alive right now. The ulti could be enough. Zahi in there as well, kicks them back, and does save his top laner.
I didn't think the Hexstringer would be enough, but he had just enough health. I thought that last auto would take him down, but those base stats and that Doran shield reducing the auto attack damage helped a plum right there. So J.K. Smithy lives, still has his teleport up, so we'll get back before the minions crash at his turret. Good stuff for Immunity.
Good attempt, though, as the drive-by gank from Destiny does come in, looking for the Q to try and knock down Trees, but the mini-wave not quite cooperating there. T-Gun now looking for the roam as well. That's a good slow to follow with. A great ulti, but a good flash from Cheese, and now T-Gun going to move in. The box comes through. The barrier's out there as well. Zahi just going to stand and fight with Cheese, who ultis Chenny Boy point blank.
Wonderful jungle pathing from Zahi, both at the top to save his top laner. Then again, the safeguard comes in the mid lane. One game later, Zahi's jungle pathing much improved. He didn't have those early ganks. They weren't successful, but harassing these lanes has really prompted some CS advantages. 18 CS in both the top and mid lane. Probably you have to attribute that to all the pressure from Zahi.
Yeah, and we're going to have a replay here as well.
So we watched the replay right here. The flash coming in on the shockwave is last thing. It's completely clutch, but you still fancy Chenny Boy to pick up the kill. Between the barrier and the shield from Zahi, it's enough. Cheese hits the melee range R and survives to live another day.
Yeah, and even Uberbro ahead as well in his lane. So all of Immunity's lanes winning right now. About 1,500 gold ahead, plus up a dragon as well. This game going much differently from the first one. They've got to be happy. And I have to say, Zahe just looks so good on a champion like Lee Sin. You can tell it's a comfort pick for him.
Yeah, definitely the comfort between the two picks is night and day on this Lee Sin right here. Always known for his aggressive champions. A Shaco main once upon a time. He knows how to play these sort of champs. He's doing very well.
Yeah, but Zuberbro here going to try and dodge out some Dark Bindings. Does have Spell Shield away if he wants to use it. And actually getting pushed in pretty hard by Callisto despite just the Vamp Scepter and the Dagger. That's surprising given that he does have a BF Sword.
Yeah, it's just, well, the Rend interactions can be very interesting, especially if Destiny's on point with helping him push. You can actually get a lot of pushing done between the W passive of Callista and also the pull damage coming out from Morgana.
Oh, Huey doing it again. The J.K. Smithy once again ults but gets ulted, and now they're going to chase in. The snare comes through. He double dives through. The ult does come through, and this time he's going to go down.
Yeah, this time the decisive ult comes down, and just not enough health to deal with there for J.K. Smithy. Doesn't have any semblance of armor to deal with the physical damage coming out from Vi. Warrior Enchantment Vi doing plenty of damage.
We've talked about Vi, Papa Smithy. She does quite a lot of damage when she's able to stand and fight, and good pressure on the turret in the top side as well here for Rich Gang. So Homie and Huey will team up here to try and take it out, and looks like they might be able to fell the first turret of this game.
A lot of resources used to keep down Renekton. Of course, he'll be able to act in his team fights with a minimum of items. Of course, he has the extra stats coming out from his ultimate. He'll still be relevant in a fight right here. They're able to harass bottom lane off turret right here. Now we're starting to go an even bigger CS advantage. I think they really need to start to relieve pressure off their carry lanes. and leave Rich Homie kind of to himself.
Yeah, so a tower trade there, will equalize the gold a little bit here. Immunity only about 1,000 up so far, but Dragon is back in about a minute 15. Cheese continuing to be so aggressive here in the mid, and Chenny Boy not having any fun at all on Oriana.
I mean, both the other lanes can play with abandon because they know that Huey set up a tent in the top lane. There's still plenty of room to move up here. Cheese not respecting Chenny Boy whatsoever in the mid lane. The jungle pressure's been predictable, and when anything's predictable, it can be taken advantage of.
Yeah, Cheese is looking to do that so far, wants to be aggressive, and this is the other reason I guess I like Zahi on more of a pressure-based jungler. Open up room for your laners. T-Gun likes to be aggressive. Cheese is very aggressive as a player, and it's enabling your team to play how they want to play as a sign of a good player. Zahi will dodge out from the Dark Binding. Nice moves there with a safeguard.
Yeah, they had advanced knowledge. They knew who was coming, so there was no chance of dying right there. They were just hoping to engineer a pick, but with the Morgana Destiny coming in for the backup, no kills to be found.
Yeah, Dragon 30 seconds now as well. Another Q does go wide there. Zahe will back off there. Huey does not quite have his ulti yet, but it's up very soon if he wants to go in. Tegan looking for a hook. Almost finds Chenny Boy. That, I can tell you right now, Cheese was going in if that had hit.
No teleport available from JK Smithy right now with Dragon 14 seconds away. It'll be up about the same time. They need to watch their timings here, Immunity. They don't want to be caught with their pants down with this teleport.
No, not at all here. And looks like both of the TPs going to be coming back soon as well.
2 pink wards down on the map from Immunity could be massive right here. They have great exclusive vision, and Chenny Boy's been poked out.
Yeah, Zai actually going in there. Ulti comes in, but T-Gun lands a hook, and he's going to get the first kill. Now Huey going to dive in onto Zai after the binding pop. Does his ulti, but he'll take out the Lee Sin. JK Smith, though, has teleported down. Cheese on a killing spree now as he gets the next one. Dayshift trying to dodge all these out. Will dodge the last 2 bolts, so we'll be safe for now. But Immunity win the 2-for-1 and look for the Dragon. Rich Homie gets grabbed there as well by T-Gun. Does get W'd up as well, but nowhere to go. The path, no, maybe enough. Uberbro going in aggressive. Good ulti there onto the Lysandra to save herself. Cheese moves the Q in a little too early, and Lysandra will live.
The self-cast ultimate from Rich Homie was just on point to keep him alive right there. They don't have Smite available as Lee Sin's just respawning, but they should be able to pick up this Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, the kill trades there still in Immunity's favor and should give them enough space to take the Dragon out there. Would have loved the 3rd kill as well, but they'll take the 2nd Dragon instead, and Immunity again, recharge here after that last game. Now, still about 2,000 gold ahead. Not a massive lead, but things are going in the right direction.
And they can't afford to let this objective a snowball slip up right here. We saw the startings of how these teamfights might go because Dayshift was not assassinated in the backline. Renekton has a lot of gap close, but is realistically never going to have the damage to be able to burst down Kalista. The Hurricane's coming, the Vamp Scepter's already up. When those 2 items are fully formed, I just don't see how Immunity are going to get the assassination, barring some real heroics from Cheese and Zahi.
I mean, the issue there, though, might be that Dayshifter could take a while to get that 2-item power spike going. Immunity are already powering up. The IE's done for Civic Heroes. Looks like Chenny Boy going to get a ghost on Seagull, looking for another hook there. Goes onto Destiny, but it's just a little short. Cheese will miss the skill shot there as well. Chenny with the blue buff might be going back in.
Rich Homie's in kind of an awkward power spike in terms of items as well. He's kind of split between Ozonia's and Morellonomicon. Those are inevitably going to be his first 2 pickups, but definitely in a power trough compared to JK Smithy, despite all the jungle pressure he's had.
And that might just be true of inventories in general for the Rich Gang players here, Papa, because, again, they're still finishing these builds. I'm starting to hit their first items now and kind of snowballing their way towards the 2nd. So, again, gold differential not massive here, but Immunity, if they keep this up, and good standing gold there taken up by JK Smithy as he gets the top tower, things, again, moving definitely in the right direction. And mid-tower now going to be under a lot of pressure.
It will be because old mate Huey's back up top dealing with JK Smithy. He's going to die again. Man, he's having bad war flashbacks, this Renekton in the top lane. They're going to try and push mid lane as a result, but with a lot of attack speed and an Oriana, not trivial to pick up this turret.
And that was a 3 or 4-man gank in the top lane. JK Smithy will take it. Just 2 deaths there for him. He's getting tankier, and that's going to give Iron room here. Chenny Boy does get grabbed. A good poke there coming in as well. And can Cheese land the ulti? Does miss the 1st, 2nd, and the 3rd is not quite enough to get the kill. Now Rich Homie's done as well. He actually poured it in to protect the turret.
Yeah, he poured it in, but they will buy time for this turret before it falls right here. They're still 4 men strong. One of their main wave clear champions has to back right here. They have a good chance to take this turret, but it's still quite healthy, still at half health.
I mean, Cheese has the blue buff. He can continue poking under the turret. Uberbro as well has a very stocked mana pool and an Infinity Edge, so things look good here. Zahi maybe thinking about going in, but so much poke under this turret. The good wave clear does help Rich Gang here, but if anyone gets caught by a skill shot, things go bad very quickly under that turret.
Definitely during this game, they'll have to get picks to be able to take turrets. You got Lissandra with fairly instant wave clear. Oriana Lissandra going to nuke down waves. The Hurricane coming through eventually on Dave Shifter will only help. Wave clear definitely not a problem for Rich Gang.
An acute deep ward in the mid lane to spot some of the retreat there, and Rich Gang now will go on the offensive in towards the push potentially. No real objectives to take towards the bottom half of the map, but they'll push in for a tower now as JK Smith is actually split pushing on his Renekton up towards the bottom side of the map.
Doesn't have teleport up here as well, so he's just trying to get a minion push going. They've actually got a significant minion push in both top and bot. That's why you see Rich Homie reacting again without teleport in the top lane right here. It's very even across the map. They really want this mid turret here, the last of the outer turrets that will allow them to get their double side stones in and get aggressive wards of the buffs of Rich Gang. If they can take the blue away from Chenny Boy, it'd be such a massive thing to do. And with Lissandra out of position, and that, look, Kalista was actually in the bottom lane as well. It's a bad rotation by Rich Gang. They shouldn't have got that turret so easily.
Yeah, good push there by JK Smithy to enable that turret as well. It's a good win, and Zai could be not in trouble, sorry, going on to Destiny here. But looks like we're going to dive in the back there. Lissandra goes in so deep there, and Cheese will go down there. Zai looks to fall over. JK Smithy massive in the back lines as well. Pop the ulti and doing so much damage around, but there's no one left to follow up. He might just take too much damage. Now, Day Shifted going to jump in onto Uber Bro. He's going to take way too much from the Civ. JK Smithy diving back in. He's trying to get the kill, but he can't lock out the Kalista, and Huey gets another kill. 3-1 Rich Gang.
And it could have been completely Titanic for Rich Gang had Day Shifted not already used his Rend right there. It was on cooldown, so he could not kill Uber Bro off, and if he got the reset there, they would have all fallen. So 3 for 1 is still a very nice trade for Rich Gang, but it could be oh so much worse next time.
And one of the cool things that we don't get to talk that much about, I guess we haven't seen too much Kalista yet, the Rend reset factor is very real in team fights, especially when you have Hurricane.
Absolutely. With Hurricane, it has that lovely little side effect that if you have minions around, you're just inevitably going to get a Rend onto the minion wave right there. And if you're fortunate in that way, you know, if you use it for harass early for the slow effect and get the reset, man, I mean, the execution damage you can do with all that attack speed is amazing to behold. Even
just spreading out, you know, like a 5v5 team fight with no minions, just spreading out the stacks, going in, getting the first kill with the Rend, and then going again to reapply the stacks, doing massive AoE damage. Chenny Boy does get grab their stun, does not hit there for Cheese, so Immunity will back off his Threshold. Lantern out, Xerath in towards the Dragon Pit. Dragon back up in a minute 10 here. You have to think that Immunity are going to try and really contest for the third one.
And if it was just that soul factor, if that was the only interaction about Hurricane on Kalista, it'd be seen more as a gimmick. There's a reason why we don't see Hurricane Caitlyn, for example. You know, she stands in a brush, she has headshot all day. It makes a lot of sense, right? But compared to the other attack speed items, the big problem with Hurricane is it provides a lot of attack speed, but no critical strikes and no damage multiplier, and no mobility, no movement speed like any of the Zeal items right there. But on Kalista, a champion that scales with attack speed for mobility, the double effort, the double factor right there is the reason why we see this very popular Hurricane build.
Yeah, Kalista's starting to pick up play. The Chizo does get ulted there by Lissandra. Destiny's going to get a very easy kill and a nice Soul Shackle. Zubero trying to cut out JK Smithy is massive, diving onto Chenny Boy and Zahi, trying to get the execute, but Smithy gets that first kill. No, Huey in trouble as Smithy does go down to Kalista. Rich Homie, good W onto Ubero, gets the double. Coming through for Kalista, they're going to dive in as well. Tegan just wide on the hook, and Rich Gang again, 3-1.
It was great initiation coming out from Chenny Boy. He fell, but again, Day Shifted is sitting at the back, getting so many auto attacks in, and this Kalista damage. There's no Bloodthirster yet, but it's still huge.
And the Hurricane is doing work there. Looks like this tower's going to fall soon as well. Zarya and Tegan might try and defend, but it might actually get themselves killed, so have to be careful. Will back away, and Rich Gang flip the gold lead back. It's about 300 gold in their favor now.
And people will watch a replay first right here. Go in, the Wombo initiation instantly kills Cheese, a very important part of the fight right here. They're trying to get on Day Shifter, but this time he's just fighting and autoing with freedom. And if he's at the back line autoing with freedom, we see so much repetitive CC coming out of Rich Homie right there, performing his role. People are being CC'd, they're lining up targets, and Day Shifter's never dropping autos. He's getting every single auto, and of course you can't cancel the autos on Kalista, but in a team fight like that where you're at the back, where you're not being attacked, you wouldn't want to.
No, and Immunity here are going to look for their next dragon as well. They might be able to get on top. It's very crucial they hold onto the dragon lead here, and they are going to get it there. Good smite from Zara gets away, but Rich King going to try and take some people out. JK Smithy, no ulti right now. Going to get jumped in by Hugh. The ulti comes down there for Lasada. Good lantern there by Tegan to free him away, and Immunity just steal away the dragon.
Yeah, Immunity are playing towards their win conditions. They need these structures. They've got 3 right here. The 5th one's always the gold standard, but they do have the movement one right now, and anything to open up distance from this Kalista and the rest of this, and the Lissandra as well, is going to be so important in a fight.
Yeah, Chenny Boy going to pick up his blue buff now as well. Little remiss that he can't get that dragon. But Rich Gang just doing fine here. Again, have well and truly equalized the gold lead after all what happened before. Get the bottom turret now as well, as Day Shifter teams up with Destiny to get that particular objective. And Immunity playing well around this dragon here, but need to maybe make a little more space. I would like to see some more warding, and they've done well on the right-hand side there, trying to get some more deep wards in towards the jungle.
Absolutely. They got the double Sightstone coming. In fact, we do see Vi with a Sightstone as well, so there's equal vision pressure potential coming out from both teams. The pink wards seem to be mostly in Rich Gang's advantage right here. We only see one defensive pink ward coming out from Immunity. They need to really expand on that, push out an aggressive pink ward line so that aggressive movements like this Rich Gang rotation here are spotted out.
Yeah, and she's actually going to be in a whole host of trouble. Lissandra with the ulti, going to back in a rush. Good stun actually landing in. That will keep him safe. Very nicely played by Cheese, but he was maybe a little lucky to get out of that alive.
Yeah, they just didn't have the warding for him to be so aggressively positioned in that top lane right there. You need to move with your wards and move your vision with your team. Otherwise, the assassination potential of this Rich Gang comp, it's a Vicom. You know the assassination and engage potential that could come out right there. It's just poor warding from Immunity.
Callisto are going to come in. Destiny going to get very aggressive there actually onto Uber Bro. The Dark Binding will hit a spell shield though, and that will kind of reset some of the potential. A good attempt though by Rich Gang.
Yeah, the hook goes wide as well. So Rich Gang don't pay for what is an overzealous initiation right there. They back away. No objectives for them to pick up, and some good warding from Immunity. It's going to be hard to get the pick they're looking for.
Yeah, they're going to try, though. Rich Homie does have his ulti, but no flash yet. So can't go super deep for the first initiation, but can do what he wants here. And I actually like the adaptation in the build here. Just a slight change here. Cooldown boots from Omicron, very standard on Lissandra. Obviously building towards the Zhonya second as well, but that distortion enchantment, that's really nice.
Yeah, I mean, the Flash W catches people unawares. You think with the gap closed, once the Glacial Path comes through, you're like, all right, predictable movement coming from this Callisto right now. But now you have the potential for the Flash W or even the Flash Frozen Tomb on yourself for that AoE slow. So 40% CDR and the Distortion Boot CDR. The CDR Lord right this game is Rich Homie right here. And he knows that his job in a fight is not to get huge burst damage down on a carry. It's to consistently CC the enemy. As Rich Gang... Oh,
really nice snipe by Cheese, though. Rich Homie a little too low, and Immunity might just take that momentum and see if they can get some more structure here. That was a beautiful big T-gun. Does go up Chenderboy. Unfortunately, he's black shielded, and they'll reset for this push now.
Yeah, that was a very fortuitous black shield right there, but they've got a lot of turret damage right here. They should be able to push it in, even with all the wave clear.
Yeah, the Lissandra wave clear down is a big deal here, and Chenderboy can do some decent work along with Morgana, but it might not be enough. Huey gets grabbed there, but his Warmogs is so tanky.
I mean, the issue here is that Dayshift at this point does have decent wave clear himself. He's picked up quite a lot of flat AD. Morgana can even throw in a puddle. I mean, basically every champion here, even Vi, if she's able to walk up to the creep wave, has AoE wave clear, so it's hard for Immunity to get these structures.
And Rich Huey actually teleporting in towards looking for a flank now, so Rich Gang might be able to take a very nice fight around the side here. Huey going to dive in there, does get onto Cheese, who gets ulted, and Rich Homie takes him out immediately. JK Smithy going to get jumped on as well, and the Callisto Ren damage is going to be massive there as well. Crocodile can't go anywhere else as Chenny gets that next kill, and Uber Bro caught out of position. Good kick by Zara to move Rich Homie out of the way, but the Glacial Path will follow in. The Q does land onto Zahi. Good snare as well, but the flash moves in. Now Dayshift trying to chase the Uber Bro, but T-Gun lands at about Zahi is way too dead though, and 3-0 Rich Gang on that fight.
Dayshift is weaving in and out of these fights on Callista, completely untargeted. They could easily go for Baron right here. We haven't even mentioned it this game, but it's been brought up so many times. The amount of damage secure as, wow, Uber Bro is going in aggressively.
Yeah, I mean, they want to stop the Baron, but T-Gun might pay the price for it. He does pop the box, he flays them back. Uber Bro can't quite find a line. The Ren doesn't kill, and that might actually be enough to get Rich Gang off the Baron.
He has to use the Ren for CC right there, but walking through the box is not an option. So very successful from Uber Bro. Calculated aggression to get them off the Baron is massive right there. But they've got a lot of problems dealing with this Callisto in a fight.
Yeah, and the gold is starting to creep up for Rich Gang now. So Immunity were 1,500 gold ahead at one point. Now they're 1,500 gold down as Rich Gang has secured himself a lead. Immunity, though, to their credit, have not seeded a dragon yet, and that's very crucial in this game.
And then we've got the Bloodthirster and Hurricane build. I really like it here just because of the synergy of having so much efficient lifesteal coming out from this item. Of course, Hurricane bolts do apply lifesteal, so even though they each do reduce damage, the 20% flat lifesteal coming out of the Bloodthirst is amplified by those bolts. You're sitting on, 35% lifesteal, whatever the number ends up being. My maths brain dying on me for a second right there. Anything to help Callista safe, keep her health up in a fight to get those Ren stacks in. So much more effective damage.
And so good on a mobile carry as well, Papa. So Callista's looking good here. Dayshift has played an excellent game so far, but Rich Gang really want a first dragon here, and they're going to try and fight for it. Looks like Zahi actually going to go in there, but a good ult there gets two, but it's mostly the tanky members. JK Smithy trying to dive back in. Zahi gets ulted for the first time and can't use his ult at all. Actually already used it to go in aggressively. JK Smithy kiting around, gets Lantern down. That's a good pick for Rich Gang. That might be their first dragon.
Once a pick comes in, you can see Immunity have very mixed play calling right there, because they realize they can see Callista free hitting and they realize, all right, we have to back off. But if they're going to lose a member, then back off every fight. They will not pick up any objectives this game.
Cheese does eat a spear there as he gets hit by Q, trying to poke people off, but they have to make a decision. JK Smithy with no ulti. Uberbro doesn't have one either. T-Guns is almost back up, but Rich Gang are going in for this dragon, and with Lissandra coming back, I don't think Immunity can pick a fight over this.
I mean, Rich Gang should definitely engage the dragon right here, because if they have to turn a fight, they're in trouble.
Yeah, Rich Homie gets Black Shield, and JK Smithy gets caught in a duck planting. Huey goes in there, and Dayshift gets the kill. Flashing forward, very aggressive. Had Morgana ready to go, and Destiny gonna flash out there. Just wanted the knockup, but she's gonna look for the kill and does get it. That might be enough poke. Never mind, Rich Gang steals the dragon away. Cheese flashes in, but a flash out keeps him safe.
Yeah, they do pick up the big objective, the 6% AD and AP at this point. It's massive multiplicative stats right here. The gold lead's only 1,000, but to pick that up in their pockets is a big thing for Rich Gang.
Nice rend there for Dayshift as well. Gets the blue buff low enough for Tender to take it very quickly, but doesn't rend it away for the kill. So impressive stuff there, and Rich Gang starting to grow more and more in this game. This Callista pick, as Immunity move through and through, especially now with that first dragon, getting better. But Uber, bro, he is committing to some sideline push, and that's 5 turrets to 3 now for Immunity.
Look, he's working on the global gold right there. He's closing it down. Only 500 gold is the lead for Rich Gang right here. I mean, very close to the last Whisperer's Dayshift. That will be a significant purchase right here. Just help him shred through the front line. Callista's only real issue in team fights is if you have a super strong front line. So if we go back to the Chiefs' first Legacy game that opened up the OPL, Swiper on Sion was so strong in the front line that Tallywacker could never... I mean, it didn't matter if he put 50 Ren stacks on that Sion. He wasn't eating any damage whatsoever with 400 armor. It could be the same flavor potentially with Renekton at this point, but he doesn't have quite enough armor for it, and this Callista's actually done very well in lanes. It does have a lot of farm, it is very close to a Last Whisper at a good timing right here. And then once that Renekton falls, those bolts, the Rens are going to be huge damage on the back line.
Yeah, we've seen what happens when Callistas do get towards the late game. She's still a bit of a weird carry positionally in League of Legends, but feels like a very strong late game carry. It's sort of like Ezreal if you gave him a really sweet steroid.
And if they use all their dive to get onto Xerath and then put the Black Shield on Callista, there'll be no magic damage to get rid of it, and she'll be able to freely hit and run through this fight with so much lifesteal, and at least theoretically take out Immunity. That's kind of their gold standard of team fight, and with all the gap closed between Lissandra and Vi, I certainly won't write them off from doing that.
And Immunity for their comp on their side pretty much is looking to keep aggressive, keep the fairly strong rotations up, and get a pick. Their comp has so many good engage and pick tools. If they can start getting picks and force 5v4s, it's much easier to win those fights.
It does lean very strongly on Thresh getting a big hook right here, as we see JK Smithy eating a bit of damage.
Ibaru actually pops the ulti. They want to go in, but Rich Homie pretty safe. They're going to rotate in. Maybe just try and take the turret here. The hook does land into Huey, but the Black Shield did come through. Now Zahi going to get bound up there and just eat Callista damage there. Huey goes over the top, dunks him for looking for the kill, and Channy Boy's going to get that. Now Cheese being chased out. The good Sonny there comes through. Soul Strikers him up, but it's not quite enough. But JK Smithy has actually turned it around. That's 2-1 in favor of Immunity right now. Channy Boy very low. Going to flash in, but does go down. But Callista still cutting here for Dayshift. Not quite dead as JK Smithy, but evens it up 3 for 2. Homie now going in over the top as well. Looking for the slow. Doesn't find it. Cheese picks up the kill. 4-2 Immunity.
The target selection from Immunity was far superior to Rich Gang's team fighting right there. It's very weird to see a fight where Callista lives and the rest of her team dies right there. Usually she's the first target to go down, but they just never got the focus fire to get the first Ren kill down. So we'll see a replay right here. They engage on Zahi because he's super, super low, but using the Assault and Battery there is kind of a big deal because now the team fight's in a bit of shambles right here. Destiny tries to zone Cheese the back of the fight, but you just look here. Once the exhaust comes down, you lose a lot of damage. And even though it's quite a good, quite used to go to the ultimate right there, Uberbro lives, and the fight's just so spread out. There's so many low health members right here that Dayshift never gets the big fight. If they fought in the open right here, if there wasn't so many vision like troughs right there as people lost vision, as if Callista never lost sight of enemies, it would have been a decisive win for Rich Gang right there. But because of the terrain that was fought around, they found it very, very difficult to get kills.
It's funny as well because Dayshift actually got gifted some movement by the Gromp, able to auto-attack it as he moved down the lane. But you're right, once he moved back in, there was nowhere else for him to really go, and Immunity fought very intelligently around those chokes. You mentioned Renekton maybe difficult to bust for Kalista as well. That was Last Whisper Kalista and couldn't kill J.K. Smithy despite how little health he had. Absolutely.
When you can isolate Renekton so that there's no bolts. Oh my goodness, Destiny's just dead in the mid lane.
That's a really sick stun. Cheese does one big load of damage there.
And they'll try and push an objective there, but coming back to the... But if Renekton can be isolated from his team, my goodness, they're trying to get Jenny Boy.
Jenny Boy is all good zombies there, but Zai going to move in, actually popping on the hunt to make sure they get it. And two great picks from Immunity turns it around.
Yeah, huge picks coming out right there. The first from Cheese was excellent play right here, and they might be able to take a huge objective, maybe even the inhibitor.
I mean, J.K. Smithy's pushing down the bottom, going to take at least this tier 2 turret for the team. And he has the teleport if he has to go in there as well. But we talk about Immunity, their comps built on picks. Those were two very good ones.
Yeah, the minion wave very, very slow to break right here. So there will be the respawn coming out on Rich Homie, but they should be able to DPS down fast enough. They're not going to go anything with the Oceania down. They may not. They may choose to fight here right next to the inhibitor, but it's going to take a lot of damage.
Cheese with a good stun as well. They are going to go back in. J.K. Smithy wants it, but Uber Bros on top of it with a boomerang blade. That's going to give up the inhibitor and Immunity. That's what, 4 picks in a row now?
I mean, the picks, it reminds me almost of the famous OMG versus SKT game from Season 3 Worlds right here. So many repeated in the picks in the mid lane, offering them objective after objective. Excellent play from Immunity.
And Immunity looks like they make the call for Baron as the objective. They want Dragon up in 40 seconds. Likely not going to get both, but make the call for the first Baron of the game. And Rich Gang are answering. Huey's here with his ulti and the smite to go. But Immunity might just turn it around for another kill here. They're taking so much Baron damage here. They've got to be careful. J.K. Smithy does have his ulti, but he's not that tanky. And if they can't get any more picks, they're still taking the Baron up as well. Does get Dark Bound there with J.K. Smithy. And they're going to have to get off the Baron.
Yeah, we might see an engage rate. They're pretty low.
Destiny going in, a great ulti there, and Huey goes in with the zombies, does get popped. T-Gon up to the side, is getting low, and Ubero though will get the kill on Divide. J.K. Smithy will be the next to fall though, and Dayshift, he's just moving through people with his Kalista. The knock up there, and Ubero gets the double over to Chenny, and 2 for 2 there, but Cheese again tries to snipe more people. Doesn't get the last one. Dayshift does get stunned up. Cheese turns around for the damage. And he might be able to keep Rich Gang now off the Baron.
It's the second poor Baron call we've seen so far, though. There's no Baron damage on this Immunity side. Siva's fine at it, but she's just a standard 80 carry, and there's no sort of semblance of other Baron damage coming out from the other members right there. It was always going to be a 30, 40 second Baron. You cannot afford to tank the magic resist debuff for that long. We're going to see the replay right here. Remember, they've been shredded in terms of magic resist debuff coming out of this Baron at this point. So Kalista comes in. This is the first side. They take down J.K. Smithy, who does fall like butter after being so tanky with those items right here. Uberbro's left alone. Whenever Siva's left to fight 1v3, 1v2, she dies instantly. She doesn't have the tools to deal with that. And it's just a very, very messy fight, almost the kind of the polar opposite of the very intelligent fight they had in bottom lane. If Renekton's able to zone away the Kalista and have a 1v1 fight, it will take Kalista forever to break through the Renekton. But if she's able to get her bolts onto multiple members, get those rend resets we've been talking about, team fight looks completely different.
Yeah, Immunity though do buy enough time to get this Dragon, and full credit to Cheese there on that play. If he didn't keep Rich Gang off the Baron, they don't deserve this Dragon, but they do get it. That's number 4 for Immunity, and there's the win condition right there. They've got a good gold lead as well. I am trying to go 1-1 here for their OPL day.
Yeah, 41-16 will be the 5th Dragon. That's the big call right here. That's the interesting thing to look at. I mean, remember, Rich Gang have always had the Dragon Snowball in their previous games. It's always been their objective control. They've been able to pick those low damage comps, the Malphite top comps, so there was 1-2 damage threat. But with their amazing neutral control, have been able to win out games. It's totally different right here. They do have a good damage comp. They've just had no shot whatsoever to the Dragon.
No, and the gold lead's decent here, although Immunity would probably like it to be a bit larger here. 4,500 gold's not too bad, and there are strong items across the board here. Cheese especially, basically, yeah, now full 4 damage items as he just completes a Zhonya's there to go with his Death Cap, Athenes, and the Void stuff. So doing a massive damage so far on the Xerath, and we've already seen just how much work he's done. Cherny Boy has gotten smashed in lane here. That CS difference is disgusting.
And we haven't seen the great decisive shockwave that, you know, makes the highlight reel clips that really rips a team apart. It hasn't come through right here. You look at the gold difference. It's about 3,500 gold is the difference between Orianna and Xerath. It's a massive advantage. And of course, Orianna needs so much more setup to get her damage in. It's all about that locus of control of the ball and getting it into the middle of the enemy team. We thought with the point-and-click engage it would be quite trivial for Huey to get the really decisive ultimates in on Oriana, but hasn't happened.
No, and Ori, when she doesn't have that much damage, can't really do that much. He needs a lot of flat AP just to do damage with her ball, but also to shield the key targets as well. Day Shifted is very strong, but Chenny Boy maybe can't protect him as well as he'd like, and I am going to go for another Baron here, it seems like.
She needs at least the Void Staff to really have that damage sticking. With that Locket pickup, a lot of the damage of the Shockwave is going to be trivial right here, and it's just too much reliance on the damage of Day Shifted. The Baron's falling very low.
Yeah, they're actually going to go in here. Zai very low as well. It does come in, but the Baron does go in. Zai looks like he's going to go down. Huey actually ults him, but Tegan and Ubro run back in. The box gets moved by Tegan, moving the choke out, but Destiny gets played back and just destroyed. No, does use the zonies. Tegan Smith, though, trying to flank Cheese. Gets blown up there by Day Shifted, but Ubro going to try and turn it around here. 2v4, but Day Shifted just doing so much work on this Kalista.
Day Shifted's orb walking and movement in those fights was excellent right there. You saw every time that Renekton tried to corral the Kalista, he tried to auto the Renekton and move closer and closer to Uberbro to move to a more priority target right there. Weren't able to separate threats as much as they wanted. I loved seeing Huey partway through that fight change aggression from the Vi to peeling the Renekton away from Kalista. Only the Kalista having her time monopolized by a Renekton can negate her influence in a fight. We're going to see the replay right here. Almost gets the steal with the Shockwave. Would have been fine right there, but it's a long fight. They managed to burst down Zahi early, of course, the tanky jungler right here. It's an excellent 3-man ultimate coming out of Morgana right here. But watch here, he actually tries to open up distance between Day Shifted and Renekton's very smart, adaptive play by the Vi right here. Day Shifted tries to walk past the Renekton to get the kill on the Sivir, but can't do it. But it's a one fight by Rich Gang.
And this Kalista is looking massive right now for Rich Gang, despite the goal deficit they find themselves in. 6-0-9 is Day Shifted with another BF sword now in the inventory to join the Bloodthirster, the Runans, and the Last Whisper. If anyone's going to put the team on his back this game, it's how Rich Gang are playing around their AD carry.
And although he doesn't have the attack speed or critical, well, he definitely has the attack speed, doesn't have the critical strike to complement, I still want to see an Infinity Edge here just to start doing relative damage to the front line, just so that he can actually start to chunk down JK Smithy instead of tickling him on that Renekton right there, because there will be a fight where Renekton gets in his face and he needs to be able to blow past that target.
Yeah, and JK Smithy actually has a Thornmail plus a Randuin's here, so very tanky. Also with a Spirit Visage, so when that ulti's going, he's really looking strong here on this Crocodile. If he gets a Warmox as well, potentially maybe subs out one of the Brutalizers or the Hex Drinkers, he's going to have a tough time. Dayshift's going to have a very tough time trying to kill the Croc.
It might be that surreal situation where you'll have to sell his QSS and actually build a Blade of the Ruin King on top just to try and start taking down that damage. But as you say, JK Smithy already very, very tanky.
Yeah, the minute hit, they're going in, but Destiny again with the ulti after Kalista pops her in, and a good 3-man's going to scatter them to the wind. JK Smithy going to get ulted up. They're trying to kill him so bad, but she's poking him with the ulti, getting hits on the Chenny Boy now as well. Almost kills Rich Homie there, and Immunity might have found it. Destiny's already dead after the aggressive ult, and they will get the inhibitor.
Yeah, it was very good spacing from the carries right there. Cheese and Uber making sure to eat no rend or auto-attack targets from the Kalista. Very well split fight right there. Could only ever get autos on JK Smithy, and he's not taking any damage at all.
No, Renekton just so tanky here for Immunity, being the front lane they need here. And, you know, Zai relatively tanky, but Renekton is sponging so much damage, and that's enabling the long-range Jareth and the short-range Sivir to both get in and really do the relevant damage they want to do. Cheese narrowly missing the steal there on that blue buff, but Huey might just go in. Good double Vault Breaker there for the knockup. Chenny no ulti quite yet, but they are going to chase in now as well. Day Shifted is on the case as JK Smithy's forced to flash. No lantern left for him though. Cheese will find the stun. Actually gets Homie though, not Huey. And Huey doesn't have his ulti, but he canted up another Q. Won't follow in though, and Rich Gang give up the chase.
Yeah, Rich Gang were actually following their minion wave, which is also pushing. So if they could have picked up a first kill, the pick would have been so important. They would have got damage on the inhibitor turret, you'd have to think right here. Their minion waves have been in excellent spots. We just saw their minion wave bottom pushing. You look top, their minion wave there is pushing onto the inner turret as well. So the 6th man is definitely working in their advantage, but the team fights have really been difficult for them. As long as IAM plays smart, as long as they split their threats away from their Renekton and give Kalista nowhere to move, they should win a fight.
Yeah, we'll see here. Rich Gang going to look aggressive, try and find a pick potentially in a brush, but instead we'll just wait around the dragon. They really want to start getting the dragons, and they must deny the 5th here from Immunity. So very important team fight about to start. Zai going to dive in onto Destiny, does safeguard out. Doesn't blow an ulti though. Destiny, very cool head.
Still 1,000 gold for Chenny Boy, and he's been caught.
Yeah, Uberbro goes in. The Chenny Boy has to be careful. There's Lissandra moving in defensively over the top. And now J.K. Smithy going to get knocked up. Destiny gets kicked back to Zahi with a very strong play after the Morgana tries to go in. And J.K. Smithy going to soak the damage. She's a little low. Huey going to look to dunk him. They will go in, and Day-Shifter will rip him into pieces, but he's getting low. Uberbro dives into melee range. That's where he wants to be. Takes it out, and that's good news there for Immunity. Now J.K. Smithy dives back in. Huey going to get shredded here by Uberbro, who gets the double.
And you could see there, Day-Shifted had to overcompensate for all his positioning problems and frustrations in previous fight by going far too aggressively. One critical strike falls him down. Of course, he's not a tanky man. He needs to be life stealing and autoing to keep alive. And that's the 5th dragon right here. And Rich Gang, they're in tatters.
Yeah, Immunity looks so strong. The 3rd kill being picked up as well as Destiny was trying to run away. And Immunity might even look to push. Death time is very long at this stage of the game, with 42 minutes being elapsed, and they're going for it, even though the sideways pushing top.
Yeah, Rich Homie took a long time to heal right here, so he's not actually able to walk up to the lane. They had so much wave clear between Oriana and Lissandra, but because the Lissandra took so long to enter waves, Smithy's just going in.
Yeah, this poor minion's eating so much damage, and Smithy is unbelievably tanky on this Renekton. Zahi going to pop the Q there as well. That next inhibitor is going to get melted by Immunity. And Chenny Boy, that's a little too far forward. You got to be careful.
Yeah, so they still have this, of course, the 5th dragon buff. The last 3 minutes gives them fairly unbelievable stats right there. They're going to back away right here, but the base is in a bit of a tatters here for Rich Gang. They're just going to wave clear. It's the item times that are really hurting here. This Oriana is basically a second support. She offers little to no burst. Still working on her Void stuff as a 3rd item compared to her opponent right here, who has 4 items and a lazy Negatron cloak on top of that right here. 600 gold till she picks up the Void stuff, but still then you have to feel like with all the resists and the tankiness on IM's side, never going to do big damage as Chenny Boy unless we go 50, 60, 70-minute game.
Yeah, just to add insult to injury for poor Chenny Boy, double lock, it was actually completed a long time ago for IM, so you know the magic resist buff will help on those two, but most importantly, just being able to have 2 sets of AoE shields kind of makes the shockwave irrelevant.
And basically it puts everything on Day-Shifted right here, and he's struggling to break through the front line. He's got the Infinity Edge right here, but realistically, given the situation she's in, almost need to treat it as if you've got an AP Lulu in the mid lane as a second support and just go full 6-item damage.
Yeah, I mean, has to try and get in here and hasn't been able to really kill this massive crocodile for a short while here. And Immunity are going to go, and Chenny Boy actually in trouble. Zai will get a beautiful kick out of the ulti, gets T-Gun. He does Zonish himself as well, but Smithy hamsily taking turret. So much damage moving in with the rest of them, and that Immunity will move out from under the turret. Now Day-Shifter trying to go in aggressively, all working very well, but that's just 1 kill there onto Chenny. Immunity will take it.
I mean, he doesn't get the top turret, which is what they really want. They don't have the minion waves pushing in aggressively right now, but Baron is up, and a free Baron, you have to think, coming up from Immunity.
Baron is going to get melted by this Immunity lineup at this point here. Uberbro will rotate in, and Baron is just going to say see you later to his health bars.
Yeah, everyone actually able to do relevant Baron damage with all the buffs they have right here, but Rich Homie's trying to contest.
He's going in, does not get the steal, though. Zahi smites it up, and Rich Homie just getting eaten by Uberbro's damage. Zahi now as well, running defense as Day-Shifter comes in, does get the kill until Lee Sin, but Uberbro does so much damage on this Sivir. There's 3 kills for 1 there, plus the Baron. Immunity might even push for game.
Yeah, they've chased Kalista off the minion wave right here, actually able to stop the back, but Day-Shifter's going for the 1v1.
Yeah, looks like they are going to move back in. Day-Shifter trying for the hero plays, and Cheese is just happy to be annoying here. Uses the ulti just to chunk them out, buying more and more time. He's actually going back in towards, just trying to make sure Kalista can't be for as long as possible. Renekton teleports in towards the top. Day-Shifter's caught a ward. Cheese is still chasing, but the base, it's getting destroyed by Immunity. Day-Shifter can't be back to defend it, and the Nexus is going to melt here under this Sivir. Immunity pull out a massive game for themselves.
Yeah, they do win this game. It didn't look good for them, but the early snowball of the objectives paid dividends right there. They recognized the points, the power points of their comp, and it was excellent play by J.K. Smithy. He got so tanky in the front line that even though this Kalista looked like she would auto freely, she did for long parts of those fights, but she could never get damage onto the carries right there, never applied the Ren, never could push it onto the important carries, and just couldn't out-damage the tanky front line of Immunity.
No, it was just so impressive. I mean, the mid-game looked a little shaky there for Immunity, but having a strong game plan, executing very well in the early game, and then when it came up clutch in the late game, just came up trumps. Absolutely.
As we have a replay here, just to go back and look at this game. So again, the kill score is completely even right here. There is about a 4,500 gold lead for Immunity, so they are in the advantage right here, but let's roll the tape. And so we see that the Sivir ult's already used right here because Chenny Boy's out of position. He's able to back away and open up some space. And this is the engage coming in from Rich Gang right here. It's a nice kick away onto Destiny. But in the backline, we're watching JK Smithy right here. So you have to watch Day Shifter's position. He's been frustrated up to this point because he's not been able to get any priority kills. So he has to go so deep in to get any damage on a priority target and dies instantly. Of course, this is a 4 damage Sivir build right here. It's very, very strong. And Immunity fight as a team right there. But that one fight is kind of, you could see there, the symptoms of Day Shifter's frustration throughout the game, as he could just never get the damage that his build should have afforded. He could never spread the Ren targets just because JK Smithy was so on point with his positioning in fights.
Yeah, and Rich Gang never got the Wombo going with the Orianna via as well. Chinny Boy really had a hard time in then against Cheese, who had a very strong game, and you have to say he's the best champion.
Absolutely.
Well, a really great day here at OPL, but we are done for today. Don't forget to join us again for the next round of OPL that begins this Thursday, and of course the LPL will continue this coming weekend as well. For myself, Papa Smooth, the Atlas, and our whole live production crew, we'll see you next time for more Oceanic Esports.